Welcome to Whispered Truth, where touching stories come alive. Let's jump into today's story.
The haunting melody of Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto in D major filled the cramped practice room, its notes seeping through the thin walls of St. Catherine's Home for Children. Alex's fingers danced across the strings of his battered violin, his eyes closed in concentration. For a moment, he wasn't in the dingy orphanage anymore. He was somewhere else, somewhere grand and beautiful, with high ceilings and polished wooden floors. A place where a magnificent grand piano stood proudly in the corner, its keys ivory and inviting. The vision vanished as abruptly as it had appeared, leaving Alex disoriented. He lowered his violin, his brow furrowed in confusion. These vivid flashes had been occurring more frequently lately, always triggered by his music. They felt so real, so tangible, that he couldn't help but wonder if they were more than just figments of his imagination. A soft knock at the door jolted him back to reality. "Alex," came a timid voice. "Are you finished practicing?" Alex smiled, recognizing the voice of his younger sister Lily. "Come in, Lil," he called out, carefully placing his violin back in its case. Lily poked her head around the door, her blue eyes wide with admiration. "That sounded amazing," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I wish I could play like you." Alex ruffled her hair affectionately as she entered the room. "You will someday, squirt. Just keep practicing." Lily's face fell slightly. "But Miss Hartley says we can't afford lessons anymore. She says the orphanage is cutting back on non-essentials." Alex felt a pang of guilt. His own lessons had been a gift from a generous benefactor who had recognized his talent years ago. But that benefactor had passed away, and now the orphanage was struggling to make ends meet. "Don't worry about that," Alex assured her, forcing a smile. "I'll teach you myself." Lily beamed at him, but her excitement was short-lived. She suddenly doubled over, clutching her stomach with a pained expression. "Lily?" Alex knelt beside her, concern etched on his face. "What's wrong?" It hurts," Lily whimpered, her face pale and clammy. Alex's heart raced as he scooped her up in his arms. This wasn't the first time Lily had experienced these mysterious pains, but they seemed to be getting worse. As he rushed her to the infirmary, a sense of dread washed over him. Something was seriously wrong with his sister, and he felt powerless to help her. Later that evening, Alex sat by Lily's bedside in the infirmary, watching her fitful sleep. The orphanage's overworked nurse had done what she could, but it was clear that Lily needed more specialized care that the orphanage couldn't afford. Alex's mind raced, trying to come up with a solution. His eyes fell on his violin case in the corner of the room, and a plan began to form. He had a talent, a gift that people seemed to appreciate. Maybe, just maybe, he could use that gift to help Lily. As the night deepened, Alex made a silent vow. He would find a way to pay for Lily's treatment, no matter what it took. With determination in his heart and his violin by his side, he prepared himself for the challenges that lay ahead. Little did Alex know that his decision to use his music to save his sister would set in motion a chain of events that would unravel the mysteries of his past, challenge everything he thought he knew about himself, and lead him on a journey of self-discovery that would change his life forever. The bustling streets of downtown Seattle pulsed with energy as Alex navigated through the afternoon crowd, his violin case clutched tightly to his chest. The towering skyscrapers loomed above him, their glass facades reflecting the rare glimpse of sunlight that had broken through the perpetually gray sky. It was a far cry from the sheltered world of St. Catherine's, and Alex felt both exhilarated and overwhelmed by the sensory overload. He had been coming here every day for the past week, setting up his makeshift stage on a busy street corner near Pike Place Market. The colorful array of flower stalls and the pungent aroma of fresh fish provided a vibrant backdrop for his performances. It wasn't much, but every dollar he earned brought him one step closer to getting Lily the help she desperately needed. As Alex unpacked his violin, his mind wandered to the conversation he'd had with Miss Hartley, the orphanage director, just days ago. "I'm sorry, Alex," she had said, her voice heavy with regret. "But we simply don't have the funds for the kind of specialized treatment Lily needs. We're barely keeping the lights on as it is." The memory of Lily's pale face and pained whimpers spurred Alex on. He positioned himself at his usual spot and began to play, pouring his heart and soul into every note. The familiar melody of Vivaldi's Four Seasons, Spring, floated through the air, drawing curious glances from passers-by. As he played, Alex found himself slipping into one of his vivid daydreams. This time he saw himself as a young boy, no more than 5 or 6, sitting at a grand piano. A woman with kind eyes and a warm smile sat beside him, guiding his small hands over the keys. The scene felt so real that Alex could almost smell the lemon-scented polish on the piano and feel the warmth of the woman's hand on his back. The vision was shattered by the sound of applause. Alex blinked, coming back to reality to find a small crowd had gathered around him. As people dropped coins and bills into his open violin case, he noticed a man standing at the back of the crowd, watching him intently. The man was tall and distinguished-looking, with salt and pepper hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed oddly familiar. He wore an expensive-looking suit that set him apart from the casual attire of the other onlookers. There was something about his gaze that made Alex feel uneasy, as if the man could see right through him. As the crowd began to disperse, the man approached Alex. "That was quite impressive," he said, his voice carrying a hint of an accent that Alex couldn't quite place. "Where did you learn to play like that?" Alex hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. "I've been playing since I was little," he said cautiously. "At the orphanage where I live." A flicker of emotion, was it pain, crossed the man's face, but it was gone so quickly that Alex thought he might have imagined it. "An orphanage, you say?" the man murmured, almost to himself. Then, more loudly, "Tell me, young man, have you ever had any formal training?" Alex shook his head. "Not really, just lessons at the orphanage when they could afford them." The man seemed to consider this for a moment. "Well, you have a remarkable talent. It would be a shame to see it go to waste." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "My name is Jonathan Blackwood. I'm a professor at the Seattle Symphony Orchestra. If you're interested in pursuing your music further, I'd like to offer you an audition." Alex's heart raced as he took the card. This could be the opportunity he needed to help Lily. But something about the man's intense gaze and the nagging feeling of familiarity made him hesitate. "Thank you, Mr. Blackwood," Alex said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I'll think about it." As Jonathan Blackwood walked away, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was more than just a coincidence. Little did he know that this moment would be the key to unlocking the mysteries of his past and forever altering the course of his future. That night, as Alex sat by Lily's bedside in the infirmary, he stared at the business card in his hand. The opportunity it represented was tempting, but it also filled him with an inexplicable sense of dread. As Lily stirred in her sleep, mumbling incoherently, Alex made a decision. For her sake, he would pursue this chance, no matter where it might lead him. What Alex didn't realize was that his decision would not only change his life, but would also unearth long-buried secrets that some people would do anything to keep hidden. As he drifted off to sleep, the haunting melody of his earlier performance echoed in his mind, intertwining with fragments of memories he couldn't quite grasp. memories of a life he had forgotten, but that was about to come rushing back with earth-shattering consequences. The Seattle Symphony Hall loomed before Alex, its modern architecture a stark contrast to the weathered brick of St. Catherine's. He clutched his violin case tightly, his palms sweaty with anticipation. The weight of Lily's future pressed heavily on his shoulders as he pushed open the glass doors and stepped into the cavernous lobby. A receptionist directed him to a practice room where he was to wait for Professor Blackwood. As Alex entered the room, he was struck by an overwhelming sense of déjà vu. The polished wooden floors, the high ceilings, the grand piano in the corner. It was all eerily familiar, like stepping into one of his vivid daydreams. He was so lost in thought that he didn't hear the door open behind him. Alex, came Jonathan Blackwood's voice, startling him. I'm glad you decided to come. Alex turned to face the professor, noting again the strange familiarity in his blue eyes. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Blackwood, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Please, call me Jonathan, the older man replied with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Now, shall we begin? As Alex unpacked his violin, Jonathan settled himself at the piano. I thought we might try a duet, he suggested. Are you familiar with Brahms' Violin Sonata No. 3 in minor? Alex nodded, surprised. It was a challenging piece, one he had only recently mastered. As they began to play, something extraordinary happened. The music flowed between them with an uncanny synchronicity, as if they had played together for years. Alex felt himself getting lost in the melody, his fingers moving of their own accord. Suddenly, another vision hit him, more vivid and intense than ever before. He saw himself as a child, playing this very piece in this very room. The woman from his earlier vision sat at the piano, her fingers dancing across the keys. A man stood nearby, watching with pride. With a jolt, Alex realized the man looked exactly like a younger version of Jonathan Blackwood. The vision was so overwhelming that Alex's fingers slipped, producing a discordant screech that shattered the moment. He stumbled backward, nearly dropping his violin. Alex? Jonathan was at his side in an instant, concern etched on his face. Are you all right? Alex struggled to catch his breath, his mind reeling. I don't know I remember. He trailed off, unsure how to explain. Jonathan's expression shifted, a mix of hope and fear flickering across his features. What did you see, Alex? He asked softly. In that moment, looking into Jonathan's familiar blue eyes, Alex knew. The truth he had been searching for, the memories that had been just out of reach, suddenly came rushing back with startling clarity. You're my father, aren't you? He whispered, his voice barely audible. The silence that followed was deafening. Jonathan's face crumpled, years of pain and regret etched into every line. Yes, he finally said, his voice thick with emotion. Yes, I am. The revelation hit Alex like a physical blow. He stumbled backward, his mind struggling to process this earth-shattering information. But how, why, he stammered, a torrent of questions threatening to overwhelm him. Jonathan took a deep breath, his shoulders sagging under the weight of long-held secrets. It's a long and painful story, Alex, one that I've wanted to tell you for years, but, well, perhaps it's best if we sit down. As they settled into chairs, Alex's head spun with a whirlwind of emotions: anger, confusion, hope, and a deep, aching sadness for the years lost. Jonathan began to speak, his words painting a picture of a past Alex had never known. Your mother, Elizabeth, was a brilliant pianist, Jonathan began, his eyes distant with memory. We met here at the symphony, it was love at first sight, and within a year, We were married and had you. Those were the happiest years of my life." His voice faltered, and Alex could see the pain etched on his face. "But then, when you were 5, there was an accident, a drunk driver. Your mother didn't survive." Alex felt a sharp pang in his chest, a grief for a mother he couldn't remember. "And me?" he asked softly. Jonathan's eyes met his, filled with remorse. "You were in the car too, the doctors. They said you might never wake up. I was devastated, lost in my grief. I couldn't bear to see you like that, a constant reminder of what I'd lost. So I ran away. I left you in the care of the hospital, unable to face the possibility of losing you too." The weight of Jonathan's confession hung heavy in the air. Alex felt a surge of anger, of betrayal, warring with a desperate desire to understand. "But I did wake up," he said, his voice trembling. Jonathan nodded, tears welling in his eyes. "By the time I came to my senses, by the time I was ready to face what had happened, you were gone, transferred to St. Catherine's with no memory of your past. I've been searching for you ever since, following rumors of a prodigy violinist in orphanages across the country. When I saw you playing in the market, I knew it was you, your talent, your mannerisms. You're so like your mother." Alex's mind reeled, trying to reconcile this new information with the life he had known. The visions, the familiar melodies, the inexplicable talent, it all suddenly made sense. But with understanding came a tidal wave of conflicting emotions. As the gravity of the situation settled over them, a tense silence filled the room. Alex stood abruptly, needing space to process everything he had learned. I need some air," he muttered, moving towards the door. Jonathan rose to follow him, but stopped short, respecting Alex's need for distance. "Alex," he called out softly, causing the young man to pause at the threshold. "I know I have no right to ask this of you, but please give me a chance to make things right." Alex turned, his eyes meeting his father's. In that moment, he saw not just the man who had abandoned him, but also a reflection of himself. The same blue eyes, the same passion for music, the same capacity for both great love and devastating mistakes. "I don't know if I can," Alex replied honestly, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I do know that right now, my sister, well, the girl I've always thought of as my sister, is sick. She needs help that I can't provide on my own." Understanding dawned on Jonathan's face. "The reason you've been playing in the market," he murmured. "Alex, let me help. It's the least I can do." As Alex stood there, torn between his anger and the desperate need to help Lily, he realized that his life had irrevocably changed. The path forward was unclear, fraught with emotional landmines and difficult choices. But as he looked at the man who was his father, this stranger who held the keys to his past and possibly his future, he knew that whatever came next would reshape not just his life, but the lives of everyone he cared about. With a deep breath, Alex made a decision that would set in motion the final chapters of his journey, a journey of forgiveness, redemption, and the power of music to heal even the deepest wounds. The next few weeks passed in a blur for Alex, his world turned upside down by the revelation of his true identity. Lily's condition had stabilized thanks to the specialized treatment Jonathan had arranged, but Alex found himself caught in an emotional tug-of-war between his past and present. He stood now in the spacious living room of Jonathan's penthouse apartment, gazing out at the Seattle skyline. The Space Needle pierced the misty sky, a silent sentinel over the city that had always been his home, though he hadn't known it. Behind him, he could hear Jonathan's hushed voice as he spoke on the phone, no doubt dealing with the legal intricacies of reclaiming a long-lost son. "Yes, I understand," Jonathan was saying. "We'll need to provide documentation of Alex's identity. I'll have my lawyer contact you with the details." As Jonathan ended the call, Alex turned to face him. The tension between them was palpable, a mix of tentative hope and unresolved pain. "So," Alex began, his voice carefully neutral, "what happens now?" Jonathan sighed, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair. "Well, legally, you're still a minor for another year once we provide proof of your identity. I can reinstate my parental rights. You and Lily could come live here, if that's what you want." The offer hung in the air, laden with unspoken emotions. Alex's mind raced, torn between the comfort of the familiar life he'd known at St. Catherine's and the allure of the life he could have with his newfound father. "And what about Lily?" Alex asked, his voice tight with concern. She's not really my sister, is she?" Jonathan shook his head gently. "No, she's not. But that doesn't mean she can't be a part of your life, of our life, if that's what you both want." Alex turned back to the window, his reflection ghostly in the glass. The boy staring back at him seemed different somehow. Older, warier, caught between two worlds. "I don't know what I want," he admitted softly. Behind him, he heard Jonathan approach, stopping just short of touching him. "I know this is overwhelming, Alex. I don't expect you to make any decisions right away. Take all the time you need." Alex nodded, grateful for the understanding. As he stood there, his gaze drifted to his violin case propped against the wall. Music had always been his solace, his way of making sense of the world. Perhaps it could help him navigate this new reality too. Could we play together again?" Alex asked hesitantly, turning to face Jonathan. A smile broke across Jonathan's face, genuine and warm. "I'd like that very much." As they settled into their instruments, Alex with his violin, Jonathan at the grand piano that dominated one corner of the living room, a sense of calm descended over them. The music flowed between them, bridging the gaps that words couldn't fill. They played for hours, moving from classical pieces to improvised melodies, each note helping to rebuild the connection that had been severed so many years ago. As the last notes faded away, Alex felt a shift within himself. The anger and confusion that had been roiling inside him began to subside, replaced by a cautious hope. "I think," Alex said slowly, lowering his violin, "I'd like to try to get to know you, to see if we can be a family again." Jonathan's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I'd like that too, son, more than you know." The moment was interrupted by Alex's phone buzzing insistently. He glanced at the screen, his heart leaping when he saw it was the hospital where Lily was being treated. "Hello," he answered, his voice tense. Jonathan watched him anxiously, reading the play of emotions across Alex's face. As Alex listened to the nurse on the other end, his expression shifted from concern to relief and finally to joy. That's amazing news. Thank you so much. We'll be there soon." He ended the call, turning to Jonathan with a wide smile. "Lily's test results came back. The treatment is working. She's going to be okay." Jonathan's face lit up with genuine happiness. "That's wonderful news, Alex. We should go see her right away." As they gathered their things to head to the hospital, Alex felt a surge of gratitude. Despite the complexity of his situation, in this moment, everything felt right. He had his health, his music, a sister who was on the mend, and a chance to rebuild a relationship with his father. But as they stepped out of the apartment, neither of them noticed the sleek black car parked across the street, its tinted windows concealing a figure watching their every move. The observer lifted a phone to their ear, speaking in low, urgent tones. "It's confirmed. The boy is with Blackwood. How do you want to proceed?" The reply was swift and cold. "Keep watching. We can't let them uncover the truth about the accident. Everything we've worked for is at stake." As Alex and Jonathan drove towards the hospital, blissfully unaware of the forces aligning against them, The stage was set for a final confrontation that would test the strength of their newfound bond and force Alex to confront the darkest secrets of his past. The hospital corridors were a maze of sterile white, the air heavy with the scent of disinfectant and the soft beeping of medical equipment. Alex navigated the familiar path to Lily's room, Jonathan following close behind. As they approached, Alex could hear laughter drifting from the open door, a sound he hadn't heard from Lily in far too long. They entered to find Lily sitting up in bed, her face brighter than it had been in weeks. She was engrossed in conversation with a nurse, but her eyes lit up when she saw Alex. "Alex," she exclaimed, her voice stronger than he remembered. "You're here." Alex rushed to her bedside, enveloping her in a gentle hug. "Of course I'm here, Squirt. How are you feeling?" Lily's smile was radiant. "So much better. The doctors say I might even be able to go home soon." As Alex basked in the joy of Lily's recovery, he became aware of Jonathan hanging back, uncertainty etched on his face. Taking a deep breath, Alex made a decision. "Lily," he said softly, "there's someone I want you to meet." He gestured for Jonathan to come closer. This is my father." Lily's eyes widened in surprise, darting between Alex and Jonathan. "Your father, but I thought." "It's a long story," Alex said with a small smile. "One I'm still figuring out myself, but he's the one who helped us get you the treatment you needed." Lily regarded Jonathan with a mix of curiosity and gratitude. "Thank you," she said simply. Jonathan's face softened. "You're very welcome, Lily. I'm glad we were able to help." As the three of them settled into conversation, Alex felt a warmth spreading through his chest. For the first time since discovering his true identity, he could see the possibility of a future where all the pieces of his life fit together: his love for Lily, his newfound connection with Jonathan, and his passion for music. But their moment of peace was shattered by the sudden appearance of a man in a dark suit at the door. His presence seemed to suck all the air out of the room. "Jonathan Blackwood?" the man asked, his voice clipped and professional. Jonathan stiffened, his face draining of color. "Yes, that's me. Can I help you?" The man produced a badge. "Detective Reeves, Seattle PD, I need you to come with me. We have some questions regarding the car accident from 12 years ago." Alex felt his world tilt on its axis. "What's going on?" he demanded, looking between Jonathan and the detective. Detective Reeves' gaze shifted to Alex. "And you must be Alex. I'm afraid you'll need to come too. Some new evidence has come to light that changes everything we thought we knew about that night." As they were led out of the hospital, Alex's mind raced. What new evidence? What didn't he know about the accident that had torn his family apart? The next few hours were a blur of sterile interrogation rooms and probing questions. Alex learned that the accident might not have been an accident at all. There were suspicions of foul play, of brake lines tampered with, of a conspiracy reaching into the highest echelons of the Seattle music world. "Your mother," Detective Reeves explained, his voice grave, "was on the verge of exposing a major embezzlement scheme within the Symphony Board. We believe someone wanted to silence her." The revelations hit Alex like physical blows. His mother, a crusader for truth. His father, suspected of involvement due to large sums of money that had passed through his accounts around the time of the accident. The life he thought he knew crumbling around him once again. As the interrogation dragged on, Alex found himself retreating inward, seeking solace in the melodies that had always been his refuge. In his mind, he played the pieces his mother had loved, the duets he had shared with Jonathan. The music helped him focus, helped him see the truth hidden beneath the layers of lies and half-truths. Finally, as dawn broke over the city, a breakthrough came. Financial records, long buried, surfaced, exonerating Jonathan and pointing to the true culprits. Board members who had seen Elizabeth Blackwood as a threat to their illicit activities. As the truth came to light, Alex felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The anger and confusion that had plagued him since learning of his past began to dissipate, replaced by a bittersweet understanding. In the aftermath, as they stood outside the police station, Jonathan turned to Alex, his eyes filled with a mixture of regret and hope. "Alex," he began, his voice hoarse with emotion, "I know I can never make up for the years we've lost, but if you'll let me, I'd like to try to be the father you deserve." Alex looked at the man before him, not the abandoning father he had imagined, nor the perfect parent he had sometimes dreamed of, but a flawed, human man who had made mistakes but was trying to make amends. Taking a deep breath, Alex made his choice. "I'd like that," he said softly. "And I think Mom would have wanted that too." As they walked together towards the rising sun, Alex felt a sense of peace wash over him. The road ahead would not be easy, but he no longer faced it alone. He had his music, he had Lily, and now he had a chance to build a relationship with the father he thought he'd lost. The final notes of Alex's story hung in the air, a complex melody of loss, discovery, and hope. As he lifted his violin to his shoulder, ready to play once more, he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them with the strength of his newfound family and the power of the music that had always been his guiding light.
Hey, want to listen to another best story? Then click the floating video and subscribe for more.